Hello, and thank you for taking time to learn more about our student result policy number 3, student personal development. I'm Stephanie Leonard-Witte, the Assistant Superintendent for Teaching, Learning, and Equity, and I'm joined by Eric Nee, our District Athletic and Activities Director. So we are recommending a rating for SR3 of failing to make reasonable progress for the 21-22 school year. We're recommending failure to make reasonable progress because the majority of our data points did not meet what we agreed upon as reasonable progress. 3 of our 14 schools met reasonable progress in attendance, and student participation in athletics and activities did increase. So those 2 areas showed some progress. The remaining data points did not. Therefore, we're giving an overall summary rating of failing to make reasonable progress. Similar to the approach with SR2, Eric and I are just going to give you a high-level overview of how to read the SR3 monitoring report, and we're happy to answer any questions you have when we engage with you at the board on December 5th. So as you look at SR3, student personal development, our district definition of what SR3 means is identified in this top box. Through a combination of home, school, and community learning experiences, our students will be prepared with the habits, skills, and attributes to succeed academically, socially, and emotionally in school and in the future. And similar to SR2, we've defined what that means underneath it. First, through an interpretation. We've included the Wisconsin CASEL framework, which are the social emotional learning standards and competencies that we've adopted in our system. We also moved through to identify that, similar to SR2, you'll see aggregate data, and then you'll also see data identified by different focus area groups. And so those are listed here. We also define what reasonable progress means within this report. So a 0.1 increase or a 1/10 of a point increase in our aggregate growth in our student perception survey. And then with respect to attendance, those that are at 95% or higher need to remain at 95%. Those that are below 95% would need to go up a percentage point annually to be able to be found in reasonable progress. We've also defined the terms for this report, and you can read through those as you interpret the report. Go back and refer to those if there are things that are less than clear based on the vocabulary we've included. So I'll go through the attendance area first and just highlight, if you take a look at Sun Prairie High School, when you look at the 2020-21 school year, we had a 94% attendance rate compared to the 21-22 school year where we had an 88% attendance rate. Therefore, we've labeled that as needs improvement. To make this reasonable progress, we would have needed to go up by 1%. So from 94 to 95, and that of course did not happen. It was 94 to 88, and therefore we've listed that as needs improvement. And you can work your way down through each of the schools to see what the actual scores were and also how we ranked that. As a reminder, we're going to need to interpret all of this data with caution. The 2020-21 school year was very different with respect to attendance because that's when we had students in student support hubs, kids attending on A days and B days, with asynchronous learning on Wednesdays. The threshold for attendance was much lower in the 2020-21 school year than it was in the 21-22 school year, where we returned to school on a normal 5-day face-to-face basis. Also during 21-22, we had quarantining of up to 10 days because of COVID. And so that certainly had an impact on our overall attendance as we compare the 2 years, and would just say we need to interpret the data with caution due to those 2 factors. The next section is around our student self-perception data, where we have pulled aspects of our academic and career planning, our emotional development, self-concept, social competence, and students rate themselves annually. So in 2020-2021, taking a look at this first one, thinking about ACP planning, our engagement survey statement reads, I use an academic and career plan to guide my decisions to help me achieve my post-high school goals. In 2020-2021, 2.84 students ranked that in a favorable manner. In 21-22, 2.77 was the overall average. And so therefore that's needs improvement. To find reasonable progress in that area, we would need to go from 2.84 to 2.94. Therefore, we've marked that as needs improvement. And you can read the other areas and interpret those too as you move through the system. And again, we've ranked all those as needs improvement. And now I'll turn it to Eric, our Director of Athletics and Activities, to talk about the athletic and activity participation at the secondary level. Eric?
Thank you, Stephanie. Now, looking at our athletics activities, last year, we wanted to see a 1% growth for both athletics and our activities. So you can see in the looking at athletics during the 2020-2021 school year, we were at 27%. Into the 21-22 school year, that jumped to 34%. And then the same looking at our activity side of it, we went from 28% during the 2020-2021 to 31% during the 2021-2022 school years. I would attribute those to two big things. Number one, being on the athletic side, this last year was a year where we did not cut at the freshman and or JV level. And that was in preparation for opening up of Sun Prairie West. I think that was a big piece on the athletic side. On the activity side, the years leading up to that, so during 2020, 2021, we were still in our COVID year. Last year, we were able to open up our clubs or activities to run normal as they did previous to COVID. So we had a lot more clubs running. Plus, we had our clubs were in full swing, having their meetings after school. Musical looked like the musical always had. And I really think that helped with our participation numbers there. So I think those are two big factors, and we continue to hope to see improvement or continue to see improvement, considering those numbers going up as we opened up Sun Prairie West, and more opportunities for our students on the activity side and on the athletic side. I think one important thing to point out as you look through all of our different focus subgroups that we talk about, in almost all of them, we do see an increase in our student participation numbers. So I think that's important to pull out too, is across all subgroups, almost all subgroups, we did see an increase in our participation numbers. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Stephanie for conclusion.
Thanks, Eric. So as I started this presentation, I'll wrap it up with we are recommending failure to make reasonable progress. It's no surprise to anyone that the 21-22 school year was certainly a year of pandemic recovery and a year of young people in our system trying to navigate being back in physical space with one another. And that certainly showed as our staff and students worked hard together to return to normalcy in physical space with one another. So we did include in the cover sheet a link to the workshop that we did a couple of weeks ago around the things that we did to try and improve our SR3 results, and also a link to our scorecards for the 2022-23 school year, so that you can review any of the action items, strategic actions that we have in place to continuously improve this work for 22-23. So we look forward to conversation on December 5th at the board meeting. Thank you so much.